the most exciting rugby competition in the world right now.
Spinning and weaving and offloading, and it's a brilliant start for the Highlanders. The two late changes combined.
It's a penalty try. A straight 7 for the Tars. Back in field for Leonard Brown. Oh, that is the Chiefs at their very, very best. That is vintage. Mark Talia. They go all in and they get everything.
Tēnā koutou katoa, good evening, welcome into the breakdown. Great to have you with us tonight. No Jeff Wilson. Goldie down at the Gulf in Queenstown will probably avoid the results until he comes back in a week's time. I'm not sure if it was too great. Joey Wheeler joins us, Taylor Johnson and Mills Muliaina. Round 3 of Super Rugby. That was a round of almost, Taylor. Almost came close.
I know the Force. They nearly went 3-0, but the Reds in the 79th minute, absolute heartbreak. But can't believe I'm watching Australian derbies for fun these days. That's how good it's been.
Yeah, and then the capital. I mean, the Blues almost lost, but the Hurricanes.
0-3.
Yes, the Hurricanes almost won.
And up in Albany, my Highlanders almost lost, but they didn't, thankfully.
They were close
but what
to
an
getting
occasion!
up.
What an occasion!
That was some game to be at. It was
What
one
a
of the
second
best
half.
vibes in Super Rugby that I've been to in a long time. The fans were
Very cool.
exceptional in Albany, weren't they?
Oh, everyone was singing and dancing. It was just so much fun. It was a really good family-friendly atmosphere, and that's what happens when you make tickets $10.
Yes.
Exactly.
learned
Great from you, Moana Pacifica. Good from you. Here is what's coming up on the breakdown tonight.
Coming up on the breakdown tonight, who starts at second 5 for the All Blacks? Can we see some card consistency? Hurricanes coach Clark Laidlaw joins us on the program. And Ruby Tui is our mic'd up player from Super Rugby Opiki.
So once again, another blockbuster, jam-packed show for your Sunday evening. Time now for Pick and Go. Now, this is when our experts, they pick a topic that they are passionate about and they try and convince us why they are right. Millsy, you're up first. Pick and go.
Oh, I've been barking this since before round 1. My pick and go from the weekend, and still is, Beauden Barrett should be at 10. And when he moved to 10, in the weekend, he just showed all his class. He was dominant, the way he was decisive in his decision making, even when he counter-attacked from the back. Some of the things he's doing, even this. The guys are all on the same page. He understands the ability to get down the other end. And I tell you what, I don't know if I've ever seen anything so great in the last couple of years in Beauden Barrett breaking through the line. How about that pass?
Would they have won the game if he didn't shift into 10?
I'm not sure they would have.
So why is Vern Cotter not putting Beauden Barrett at 10?
I've got my theories. I totally agree. Personally, I totally agree. But do I think Vern Cotter will do it? No, I don't. I think he'll stick with Harry Plummer because Harry Plummer led this Blues team after 21 years back to the promised land. He's got a lot of trust in Harry Plummer and what he did last year. And I said this to Jeff last week, and it proved true. He went with Harry Plummer again, but I think we can see the quality. When Beauden does go in there, he changes their game. They don't go as direct. They use his running game. He plays flat on the line, and it's just a change of point of contact, isn't it, Taylor? Something different, because teams have just been fronting them physically and they've been shutting them down.
I don't count Vern out. I reckon he might actually put in there because after the game, he actually said to us, I might have to look at that because we know he was good. But we also have to remember they've got Zahn Sullivan out and Seven Peter-Feta, and I think if they were there, we probably would be seeing.
But what about Cole Forbes?
Yeah, well, he can go anywhere, and that's the thing is, we have so many people who can slot into any positions.
They do have options at 15 if they did want to move Bodie.
100%. I'm a fan. Put Bodie there.
No, I think
And in the black
what it's done, Bodie coming back from Japan, I think he's probably given him an easy ride in. I mean, a couple of years ago, I said that he should be playing fullback, right? And now, when I've seen round 1 what he's doing, and also his ability to open the game up, that's what they've got. You know, the Blues have got a different game to them, and I feel sometimes, you know, I know they won last year, and you know, was sort of, you know, banging, keeping the ball in hand. But there's a different element to them as well. And I feel there's, you know, in some of those players, particularly the likes of the outsides, they still want to play that expensive game. Yeah. And this guy here can mix, you know, in both.
He can ignite it, right?
So for the Blues to be back in the title contention for 2025, they need Beauden Barrett at 10. Taylor, what is your pick and go?
My pick and go, Quinton Tupaia is going to be the All Black 12 this year. Geordie Barrett's overseas at the moment. We know he is coming back. But if you're looking at form, Quinn Tupaia has stood up and some. His distribution, fantastic. His ball carrying abilities, 90% of the time he got over the gain line. You know, that is a strong percentage for a crash and bash 12. He is killing it, and he had an absolute seed of a pass to set up that try for an assist. The chip and chase, I mean, what more can you want from a 12? You know, he's had a lot of injuries, and I think he's just really, you know, taken this game by the scruff of the neck, and I think he is going to be the All Black 12.
What about the difference? Jim Tavatava Nawai.
On the difference, though,
Tamosi Tavatava Nawai.
He's a winger. He is a
Tamosi
winger.
Tavatava Nawai. What more does he need to do?
Joey, I spoke to Jimmy beforehand, and he said he's still learning 12. And I agree with him. He is still learning it, and he's not getting that run up. His biggest impact is when he's running from the back fence straight at people like a bowling ball, collecting pins.
Yeah. This is what he's going to bring. This is his point of difference, is the turnover effect. And I think that's what's potentially going to see him in an All Black jersey, is he has the ability to turn the pill over, and we know that the All Blacks, Millsy, you as an outside back, that's when you're at your most deadly. That's when the All Blacks are at their most deadly.
I think
Tavatava Nawai, they're unreal.
Having a great start to the season. I disagree with you both. You know, at the moment right now, it's Anton Leonard-Brown. You've got to have that stability. Anton's come on, the force, the bringing him back and sort of easing him back into the game. But you've also got to have a kicking element. When
you're putting him at 13, aren't you?
No, I think, to me, Anton is a 12.
Well,
Anton's a 12. He does all what... I love Quinn Tupaia as well, but he's had a couple of injuries, and it's great that he's getting, you know, opportunities out there too. But in the heat of the moment, this guy here, especially in the All Black jersey as well, last season, he was exceptional. And so if Geordie's not there, it's Anton Leonard-Brown.
Why can't we combine them? Right? Let's just take the Chiefs midfield. They are killing it on fantasy, and that's why I am at the top of the leader list, but we'll talk about that later.
Oh, look, I'll find the middle ground here. You've got to have ALB in there. He's your centre.
Well, you
and I'm going like this. You get, if you raise a Robertson, you're flipping a coin. Heads is the difference. Tails is Quinn Tupaia. And Geordie Barrett's coming off the pine. You're just easing him back into his work. Look, I think we all agree. Let's find a happy...
Do you reckon Razor flips a coin, does he?
I need to mention one more name.
Razor's flipping a coin.
Is that how All Black selections are done in the boxes these days?
That's how tight it is, I reckon.
Tito Umanga Jensen. Now, I need to throw that name out there too, because our 12 depth is phenomenal, and we know he's a one-test All Black already. He really stood up, and I spoke to Clark Laidlaw off camera, and he said he is back to that form that got him in the black jersey, but his biggest thing is, can he be consistent with it? Defensively, he was outstanding, and on attack as well. So I think for the first time in a long time, we've actually got a lot of depth in 12.
Hey. You're forgetting one guy down in the Crusaders too.
What about AJ?
David Havili. How good's he been for the Crusaders, you know? And he's missed the
Anyway, Quinn Tupaia at 12. Heard it here. Let's move on, Joey.
What's yours, Joey?
At the moment, on form, I'm picking Jim the Difference. At, in the
what's your pick?
What's my pick? Oh, sorry.
We've moved on from there. We've flipped the coin.
And it was head, so yeah. Apologies.
What is your pick and go?
What I'm all about is Super Rugby being the best competition in the world at the moment. There's so much noise about the Phoenix, Auckland FC, the Wars that are over in Vegas at the moment.
Don't talk about them.
All the noise needs to be about this competition. The tries, the entertainment factor. This competition has it all at the moment, and it has it in absolute spades. If you're not entertained, I don't know what you're watching, because all the games, bar one that I can think of, which was the Chiefs versus Crusaders, have been so tight. You could, again, Razor Robinson flip a coin as to who's going to win it, right down to the last minutes of the
Joey, it always lands on the Chiefs.
I look at the enthusiastic crowds that we've had, finishes like that, the engagement with fans across the board. Like, I don't know about you guys, but in the airports, people wanting to talk fantasy rugby, wanting to talk their team, how well they're going, wanting to talk players. And I just think the biggest thing of all has been how competitive the competition, from an Australian perspective, from the Drua perspective, and Moana Pacifica perspective, against these New Zealand teams, has just elevated this competition to a whole nother level. Super Rugby is back, baby, and it's back with a vengeance.
On the field.
On the field.
I agree, on the field.
Not off the field as well, Mills.
One thing I would say that we still haven't got quite right is the fan-centric side of it.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm not going... I bought 2 jerseys. I mean, a jersey for a 6 and a 7-year-old kid at $150. When you're turning up to a game and ticket prices are that high, I mean, you go to Auckland FC and they've got bouncy castles, they're cheap. There's lots of different options in terms of food selections. It's not just your pie and your chips and your hot dogs. You know, there's everything. But there's a real celebration of that, and we should try and get on the back end of that. You know, I mean, we're seeing crowds starting to return, but let's make it a bit different. Let's make it afternoon games as well. And I think that's an area that we can, as a competition, really improve on.
I've got the solution for you. Joe, Mackenzie and Marco. Bring them down to the zoo in Dunedin. Mate, there's a zoo down there. There's a zoo. If they're not entertained there, they'll never be entertained.
I don't want to leave a couple of down at the zoo for good.
No, I take your point.
And that's not my wife.
Mate, for a family of, 4 going along, ticket prices at that, you're at $500 for a couple of kids' jerseys plus the tickets.
And then you've got to buy them the next year.
And then you're not even getting a hot dog.
Half the price, you know. So I've doubled up the
that's why they've sold 22,000 jerseys for Auckland FC.
Take note.
They're everywhere.
So that is pick and go this week. Love your points from all 3 of you. This competition has been so hot in the first 3 rounds, so close to cool. As Joey says, just get the coin out and flip it. Yeah. Probably will always land on the Chiefs to be in the finals at least. But you've been looking at the numbers, Taylor.
I have.
One clear leader at the moment, the Chiefs. Red's also unbeaten. But what are the stats actually saying? Are there any surprises?
The stats are very surprising. Well, the Chiefs, no surprise there. Carry meters, clean breaks, defenders beaten. They are smashing everyone. And you look at their backline and even their forwards, outstanding. But the biggest surprise package here, look at Moana Pacifica. In the top 3 for tries and carry meters, but also tackle percentage, yet they haven't won a game yet. So they're good on both sides of the ball. Their biggest issue, though, is their turnovers and the way that other teams are able to capitalise off their mistakes. If they can really fix those mistakes, just the simple knock-ons or just ball not going to hand, I think they could be a real force to be reckoned with. So yes, they're bottom of the table at the moment, but I don't think they're as bad as people are saying they are.
Well, the Brumbies is a surprising one. They're not even featuring in the top 6 of the competition, and they're first on tries, second in clean breaks. So that's a real surprising stat for me.
Oh, their back 3 have been phenomenal. And I think, let's talk about that Chiefs-Brumbies game, because I think that score didn't do it justice. It wasn't until the last couple, 10 minutes where the Chiefs ran away with a couple of tries, but it was very much neck and neck.
Well, we're actually going to talk about officiating, because there have been a number of cards in the first 3 rounds of Super Rugby, a number of head clashes as well. Have there been consistent calls when it comes to head clashes in Super Rugby this season, Taylor?
Oh, the perfect example this weekend. We saw Cam Miller. No one likes to see that. No one likes to see anyone come off, especially on a stretcher. But he came off and there was absolutely no card given to him. And we've seen similar situations like this where it was at least a minimum yellow card. Let's take a look at this. It's head-on-head contact, and there's no mitigating factor. He didn't dip, and neither did Danny Tawala. And you take a look at this, head-on-head. And it was just play on, no penalty, no nothing. But then let's take a look back to when Angus Ta'avao did the same thing in a black jersey. He was lights out. He woke up to a red card. And so there's just a little bit of inconsistencies in this. And I think it's not just on the fault of the refs and the way they're interpreting the law, but there's a whole lot more head contact at the moment in the first 3 weeks, and that is because the game is faster. People are tired. They're not dipping when they should be dipping. They're not getting onside, and so it's forcing those mistakes. So we love the innovation of the game getting faster, but it's actually starting to have some side effects that we didn't think would happen, like ill discipline and particularly head contact. And another prime example of things not being consistent is we saw Hoskins Tutu, he saw red. And then a very similar situation. He saw red when he saw Peter Larkard, but he also saw red from that tackle.
When he saw Joey too.
Yeah, when he saw Joey as well. Red card, I don't dispute this. This is head contact, that is a red. I agree, yellow maybe. But then we go to the Drua game. Waratahs player, I think it was Rob Leota. Same thing, shoulder to head, penalty only. And it's just that inconsistency that's not good for fans and it's not good for players. And so let's just take one hard stance. And I know it's hard, there's mitigating factors either way, but it's just too inconsistent within one round.
Yeah, no, I'm hearing your points, but I believe players need to take some more responsibility for some of this stuff. And I do think a lot of those cards over the weekend were justified, but do players need to be better? I look at the Hoskins Tutu example, and I did give them that feedback post-match.
You did give them.
My feedback was pretty simple. cheek to cheek, like we got taught back in the days, Millsy. You know, get your cheek against their bum cheek and you'll have no issues. You'll have no issues. Lower the height and then you'll be fine. But he's going to go to...
cheek to cheek, eh?
They've changed cheek to cheek. They're going belly button now, aren't they, around there? So, look, I just think players need to take a little bit more responsibility. Hoskins is going to go to tackle school.
So he's getting banned.
But I would say he'll go for it. If they're being
suspended.
consistent with Paisami, who went for 3 weeks skate, Daniel Leonard-Brown got 3 weeks as well. So I'd imagine that if they're being consistent with the judiciary process, he will get 3 weeks and he'll have to go to tackle school, so he'll probably get lowered a little bit more.
You been to tackle school? I want to see.
I wouldn't mind going to
know
tackle
what they
school.
do in
Not
tackle
with
school.
Hoskins Satutu, though, preferably.
Can he practice on you? I'd love to see that.
I'm sure he wants to. I'm sure he wants to. Let's stay with the Blues then, because there was an incident in the last moment of that game. Now, their replacement halfback, Sam Knock, he hurt his leg. We've got some vision of that now, but the Blues said that he was coming off for an HIA, so a collision with the head. The referee's manager, he questioned this. As you can see, Sam Knock's on the ground there. He gets pulled up by Mark Talia and he's limping off. So leg injury that was just on camera there. The match doctor, the independent match doctor, is checking it and he could not find an HIA that had happened within that window. So subsequently, Knock comes off and they couldn't put Finlay Christie back on. They had to put Corey Evans on to finish the game in the final minute. Massive hoo-ha. Took over 5 minutes and there was a lot of confusion, probably from yourselves sitting there at home, from fans sitting in the stands, and also players on the field. What was going on, Millsy? This can't be good for the game.
Yeah, and that's exactly my point right now.
Were the Blues trying to cheat, but they just didn't get away with
hold on
it?
a sec. If they were legally trying to break the rules. I mean, what coach doesn't try to legally break the rules? And it's done all the time.
Manipulate.
Yeah,
Manipulate.
exactly.
Manipulate,
But the thing that got me is the heat of the battle. This game was on edge, right? It was there's so much that in it. Did we really need that? Did we really need the match official to go, oh, actually, the Blues have said HIA. Did you go through the process? And then go all that way to check that out and have people, unsure about what it was. They even wanted to send Sam Knock back on. Well, he's injured, he's off, but moving forward, are we going to be constantly checking things when someone says HIA? Is it now up to the medical side to actually check every single bit? And I just think, if we're going to play detective, and that's obviously what they've done, do it after the game. And if it comes up that they were trying to manipulate it...
But what about the opposition if you lost a game, you were in a game, and then the other side is cheating?
100%. Hindsight, it wasn't, right? Whoever put it in, I think it was Barrett that put it in, it wasn't going to happen. But if it's going to happen later on, be a detective afterwards. We don't need to waste 5 minutes and fans being a bit confused and then find them.
You'd be aggrieved if you were on the other side.
Blues man in his corner.
Exactly.
Good to see a Blues man getting in the corner for his team.
Well, we can have this every week.
The Hurricanes were blowing up sick post that. They're going, look at Sam Knock. He was down with a leg injury. That should be a penalty to us. That's the consequence, right? Like you go on the other foot and you look at it from a Canes perspective. They're going, they've fudged that. And you're right, Millsy, in the last minute of the game, they spent 5 minutes fluffing around and it was on a knife edge and you've just ruined the drama.
Yeah.
Do it after. If it's a case that, hey, it is, and they were caught cheating, be a detective after, take the points off them, give the Hurricanes the win, if that's the case. Don't waste 10 minutes when fans are watching on knife's edge to go and come to a technicality that no one actually really knows about.
Well, someone who had a front row seat to the action for the final minute fiasco was in the Hurricanes coaching box, their head coach, Clark Laidlaw. He joins us now live. Clark, thank you so much for your time. What did you make of it all?
Yeah, there was a bit going on, wasn't there? Seems like the last couple of weeks, they drew a game in Napier as well as... last night there's a bit going on around yellow cards and penalties and HIAs, and so I guess we just took a breath. We thought, if we could, we had an opportunity with the line out, didn't quite pay off, and the Blues were good enough to see it off in the end. They had a couple of scrums where we tried to get the pressure but didn't quite get the reward. So ultimately it was frustrating end to the game. Yeah,
Clark, you mentioned the fact that it was frustrating. Man, it was a hell of a game. But you've sort of had a chance to review now. You go into a review with your players. Is there any sort of particular moment in that sort of second half that you would have sort of thought, mate, that was the changing of the game?
Oh, I think, was it 62 minutes or so, we got to, 29-21 in front. I thought the first 20 after half-time we played particularly well. First half we had to sort of create a way to hang in there. With we're going down to 13, but I thought the way we played when we were down to 13 was really encouraging. The way Harry sort of goal kicked and took the points when they were on offer kept us in the game. And then those first 20 minutes, as I say, I thought we played really well. And the 2 tries that we gave away, we sort of piggybacked them. There was an opportunity where we tried to turn it over at the ruck. We missed it. We gave away a penalty. They were good enough to score. And then, a bit of quality, I guess, from the right winger in Mark Talia, scored a really good try in the corner. But even from then, we had those opportunities, you say, to get down there. A couple of lineouts in the 22 where we need to be good enough to take those opportunities.
Clark, last night you said to us that Sky and the fans must be loving the competition, and we absolutely are. You wouldn't have loved last night's result, but how have you found the competition this year and the standard?
Yeah, I think everybody can see most of the games are coming down to the last 10 minutes. Certainly the Australian teams, you look at Moana and the Fijian Drua, who have steadily been getting better over the last 2 or 3 years. You can see they're super competitive now with players moving around. The Fijian Drua have got almost a test match 23. So no game is going to be a given. That's why I think you just need to concentrate on each week and try and prepare really well, whoever's in front of you, because if you get it wrong, you're going to lose. And, you need to get a lot of things right to get across the line. So it's going to be an exciting few months ahead, I would think.
Clark, I want to ask you about an individual on your side, and that's Harry Godfrey. Obviously, his growth in that 10 jersey after you lost Brett Cameron to an ACL. What have you made of his start to the Super Rugby season?
Yeah, in the main, outstanding. He's really taken to what it means to be a 10 at Super Rugby level. He's putting his hand up during the week to really try and lead and organise the game plan with the coaches and the other leaders within the team. So it's quite exciting to think he only played 1 game for Hawke's Bay at 10, which was the first game in the NPC, and then played fullback. So the age-old question in New Zealand rugby, is he a 10 or a 15, is real. He's we're loving what he's doing. And one of his major attributes is his bravery. He takes I guess he's a little bit like a Damien McKenzie and a young body, where their ability to take the line on and try and line break if nothing else is on is one of his super strengths. And as he matures around the playmaking side, he's got a big future ahead, hopefully, for us.
Do you reckon he looks like Beauden Barrett?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think I heard somebody say that last night. I think he's better looking than Bodie.
Yeah, I picked it first round. I don't want to take credit for that, not Nisbo.
Clark, you mentioned Moana Pacifica. I mean, not a bad player that they had at 7 over the weekend. He played a lot of rugby at 8 at the Hurricanes. How much clip have you got on it? Have you rolled out the old footage of Adi Savia?
Yeah, he's a hell of a rugby player, isn't he? He's been an amazing Hurricane, a really strong All Black for so many years, and you can see what a world-class player can do to a team that's got a lot of good players. He put in a couple of guys like Ardy, Jackson Garden Bishop's a really smart tactician that goes alongside him. So with those 2 additions, they've got some firepower on the wing, on both sides of the field. So yeah, we're not under any illusions around what we need to prepare for this week going up there. And yeah, it's an exciting challenge for us, and hopefully we get the same sort of atmosphere they had on the weekend there for our game coming.
Just changing tack a little bit here, Clark. The Sevens program, I'm sure you are an interested spectator like a lot of us, and would have watched with interest the men's Sevens last weekend. We've all got our opinions on it. My opinion personally is they look a little bit underdone. Why do you think they're struggling at the moment, mate?
Yeah, I think underdone. When you look at, have a look at who's playing well in Super Rugby. A number of them are ex-Sevens players over the last year or 18 months. And then you lose Scott Curry, Tim Mickelson, Sam Dixon alongside 5 or 6 quality young men. Then you're talking double-figure players. And when there's no provincial Sevens, there's no Super Rugby Sevens, there's no adult Sevens, there's no development programme. They're having to learn some really tough lessons against quality sides on the World Series, and it's bloody difficult to learn on the run. Mills has played the game. He was there last week. The quality across the 12 teams it's super even, you know, and you look at like an Ireland, you know, they were winning tournaments last year. They lose the core of the group. They've won 2 games the whole season. So that shows if you've not got a development program and developing players underneath, it's going to be really difficult just to slot guys in. And I think some of the younger players look really promising, but they're going to take time. And as with all young players, you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have to wear it now and again, and you're going to have to show some patience.
It has been great to see some of those Sevens boys in Super Rugby, but how we let Moses Leo and William Warbrick grow across to the NRL, I will never understand.
Sign them up, Hurricanes. Clark can sort that out.
Thanks so much for your time, Clark. Really appreciate it.
Daisy, thank you.
Yeah, Clark Laidlaw, of course, before the Hurricanes was with the All Black Sevens, and he took them to the very top multiple times. Right now, Millsy, they are struggling after 4 tournaments. They're middle of the pack, and that is not where we are used to seeing the All Black Sevens program. They haven't won a tournament so far. They've lost to Spain 3 tournaments in a row. You were in Vancouver last week. What were you seeing?
He's brought up some great points. I think, you know, the competitions that we used to have, the Nationals, the Condors, and the development that bring guys through, but also they obviously have now thought, you know, the guys have left. That's a lot of experience, and obviously, you know, the young guys that have come through, we're now actually seeing them. So, are we going to be patient with these guys, or do we need to start looking at the development? The development program in itself, it's all right and handy having a centralised system. But where we were at our absolute best was the Condor Sevens, the National Sevens, the regional Sevens that we had, and we've just sort of scrapped it. And I understand there's been a lot of money that sort of goes into this, but that's the result. You know, there's no real development of people, the next generation are coming through. So, unfortunately for now, we just have to be a little bit more patient.
And Millsy, it means you miss out on the yearly trips to Rotorua, Queenstown and Tauranga in the Bay of Plenty.
Yeah, I was probably vying for Queenstown more than any of those other venues. But yeah, we all miss out, don't we?
But when it comes to patience, we do not have it for our teams in black, do we? We expect success. We expect all of our teams in black to be at the very top. Tell you who was on top of their game was this little boy in Albany, North Harbour Stadium on the weekend. We've got top 5 moments of the weekend coming up next, but he is my moment, Joey. He is him. Watch this guy. I thought you could dance
Yeah,
at
boy,
Vault
look at
21
that.
at the Octi. He's better than you.
He's got the moves, this kid.
I love this boy. That is energy.
Going off, Albany.
I know, and that's just one kid. There was about 200 other kids doing the exact same thing.
I like that one.
Fitness and everything, so I'm loving it, and hey, I'm going to be doing that on Friday.
At number 5, a clash of the Titans. Adi Savia versus Timothy Tavatavanawai on Friday night. From turnovers to tackles,
Turnover, he is having some game.
it was a ding-dong battle.
Tavatavanawai ran it straight at Adi Savia. Not only did Adi take that personally, but this entire crowd did as well.
At number 4, it's 2 flying finishers. Ruate Karawalevu for the Fijian and Drua, and then Mark Talair for the Blues.
That is vintage, Mark Talair.
So who did it best, the Flying Fijian or the Talair jet? At number 3, my giddy aunt, it's Gideon Rampling scoring with his first touch against the Brumbies.
That's for Gideon Rampling. Surely some sort of record.
And we think this might be his second touch.
2 for Rampling.
Oh, Gideon Rampling, having yourself a day. Is that 2 touches and 2 tries?
At number 2, Super Opiki kicked off and Matatu upset Chiefs Manawa in Kirikiriroa.
For Matatu to get the opening win of the season.
And by George, it was a fullback called Napier who sparked the second half comeback.
Napier goes through the defence. Kaya Napier runs out of support, and then it comes in the form of Winnie Palamo.
And at number 1, a super debut for the ages from Braxton Sorensen McGee. Her name sounds like a country song, and she walked the line.
Braxton Sorensen McGee. First game of Super Rugby Opiki. First try.
And that was your Breakdown Top 5.
One game and she is an instant superstar. We are going to talk about Braxton Sorensen McGee a little bit later on, but I want to talk about those flying finishes from the Flying Fijian and from Flying Mark Talair. Who did it better, do we think, team?
Talair.
Why?
It looks like-
Why? Is that just because he's your favourite?
Well, they won.
Two different
argue.
styles. Karawalevu he kind of looks like he's practiced on the beaches, you know, the sand, you know, the way he sort of dived and sinks in, whereas Telea's, you know, the green pastures of Auckland on a rainy day when it's supposed to be sunny. There, you see?
I did think that the dismount was the only thing that I could critique in both of them. Really. being a finishing expert in the corner like myself, but I just thought the roly-poly here and then the up and the celebration from Telea probably just gets the nod. But the in and out, Millsy, yeah, good.
Look, let's be honest, they were both seriously impressive.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, not bad.
I mean, Millsy, you're probably the only one that could have pulled off those kind of acrobatics in here.
You know what, I feel for Hohepa there because I've been there plenty of times. I'm just glad I'm not coming up. I'm long since that, man. I feel for that, man. When you see the wingers,
But they practice that stuff now. Like they have the pads
Those
out
big
and they
mats
practice
out.
it in the corner, and they actually do practice those dives. So it's not just a fluke and natural talent. They actually do put a lot of work.
Well, I'll tell you what, as someone who was mildly impressive with his finishes over the weekend, that is one of those two Clash of the Titans. Ardie Savea, who just happens to be your player of the round, Millsy.
Yeah, I think when you get to sort of big games and they're behind, 31-10 at half time?
21-point deficit.
I mean, and one person changed that to me. I mean, there's no doubt his influences and his presence, but you sometimes always go there and think, well, how can I do that? He's done it best by going out there and just playing Ardie Savea. I mean, man, that was a big moment, this try. I mean, to do it from 50-odd metres out and the way they did it, and that just lifted the team. I mean, they almost pipped them off. They almost won because of his influence. And so, Ardie, for me, big-time players step up big, you know, throughout the season. They've got heat on them all the time. Same as Barrett as well. So Ardie, for me, was my player of the weekend.
He was my player of the round as well. And it purely came down to that 40 minutes that he produced. 5 turnovers in that game, which is just sensational in itself. 10 tackles, 14 ball carries, and 60 of those were metres gained in contact. So super impressive. 3 tackle busts, 1 line break. But I think, as you alluded to, Millsy, it's his influence on the other players around him. Like Tana, we had him on last week, and he talked about his mana that he brings to that team and his leadership. But I think you're seeing guys like Samisi Tupo-Ta'ialoa, a guy that's, you know, probably pretty new to all the viewers out there in New Zealand. But this guy is a young number 8 for Moana Pacifica, playing alongside the world's best player, and he's producing goods, he's lifting. So his influence is just outstanding across the board for this Moana Pacifica side.
No doubt about it, Ardie Savea is absolutely exceptional, and he is worth a number of points every game. We have just seen it. They have pushed opposition so close in the first 3 rounds, but Taylor, when do the wins start coming?
When they can kick. I mean, they left 6 points out there and they scored more tries. And I think it's, again, like I mentioned earlier, it's the accuracy. The turnovers is what's killing them. They're in the top stats, you know, for carries and even defence.
I think the accuracy and it's a critical parts of the game.
Part.
So they lost 2 lineouts. I think it was inside the 30 metres of the Highlanders, and they got turned over at lineout time. So those areas of the game is where you win games, right, Millsy? It's when you nail that and you get into your game, because we know they've got the talent, they've got all the ability. We saw it on the stats earlier. They're in the top 3 in a lot of those stats to be able to put themselves in positions, but it's actually sealing the deal. And it's those moments, kicking goals and winning moments at crucial times.
Yeah, and it's their game drivers too. You know, that 9 and 10 combination, they're the ones who really need to pick the team up at crucial moments, and it's around then too. I think that decision-making is what's leading them down.
So these two both went Ardie Savea. You've gone someone else.
I have. So last year you put me on the spot and you said, is Damien McKenzie our All Black 10? And I said no, and the amount of hate I copped online, I said no, he's not our 10, he's our 15, and that's why he is my player of the round, because he is striving at 15 with Shooter gone and Josh Jacobs stepping up. Damien McKenzie, week in and week out, has been the best player in Super Rugby. I mean, 23 defenders beaten, he's top of the competition. Next person down, Quinn Tupaia, only with 14. You know, He is phenomenal. His metres, he's second in that as well. He is just so lethal when he is at fullback. He is a waste at 10 because he's got such a big skill set and he's got more time and space at fullback. And he is so hard to defend because he's sporadic. But when he has time to look up and look at the space, his acceleration off the mark, I mean, this held up try, if that was a try, it would have been probably the try of the round. So Damien McKenzie, for me, massive player of this round and player of Super Rugby so far.
So he's getting max points every single week in fantasy, but not according to the Super Rugby Player of the Year title, as voted by the opposition coach and captain.
He's not even in the top 20, you know, and everyone can see it. The media, we can, the fans. He's not in the top 20, but he's the most picked player in Super Rugby in fantasy, and he's my captain, and he's getting me good points.
I took him out this last week.
Oh, yeah.
Who said he was injured? Who said he was injured, man?
Don't listen to
I
the
shouldn't be
rumour mill,
laughing.
bro.
I left Luke Jacobson in my fantasy team and he didn't even play.
We're going to have a fantasy update for you shortly, but just on that injury, Damien played the game, but he actually got injured during that match, and the Chiefs had to finish the game off without him. We've got some vision of the injury. Now, we're hearing it is actually nothing to worry about.
I flicked him a text just before we came in here just to check in, make sure it was all good, and he said, a couple of Panadol, strap it up, Joey, she'll be right.
Okay, so
good Southern man, still got that, you know. He's all good.
I'd rest him.
I think he's just smoke and mirrors, you know. Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
They'll rest him next week, though, I reckon.
You'll rest him?
They'll rest him next week.
Well,
so get him out of your fantasy team.
Well, Mosey's already taken him out.
I'll put him back in.
Do a Joey.
He is one of the superstars of the competition, no doubt about that. We knew that was coming from Damien McKenzie always. But what about some of the players that may have surprised you across the 3 rounds so far? Have there been any breakout performers that have put their hands up?
I really enjoyed, I mean, if you look at the Blues season, right, and where the casualty ward is, you know, Sam Derry, McConnell as well. For me, Josh Berry was really good last night. I think he really stood up as a youngster. He was influential. He broke off the line out, and he's starting to sort of, you know, get a little bit of that momentum because he's going to get a bit of time in the locks. And what better guy to partner up with is Patrick Tuipulotu. So for me, Josh Berry was impressive against the Hurricanes, particularly in the big game.
Yeah, and the physicality in his game. I think for me, the breakout players, there's been 2 that I've been really impressed with. Firstly, Simon Parker out of the Chiefs. He's had an opportunity in the 8 jersey with Wallace Atiti's injury, and I just love the cut of this guy's chip. He's a big body, big athlete, tall, really good line out forward, but it's the physical attributes. He's got a little bit of a nice turn of pace, and he has the ability to break the line, but it's his physicality and the tackle that I love, Millsy, through the middle of the field. He has the ability to sit guys on their bum at pace. So I think he's one to watch, and we know that the 8 jersey, I think everyone obviously sees Wallace's huge potential to go to the All Blacks at 8, but under that, we don't actually have a lot of depth, so he's one to watch. And the other one, obviously down south, the guy dripping wet at 80 kilos, and that is Finn Hurley. He has been absolutely outstanding for the Highlanders. Obviously pulled out late, I understand, with a little quad injury of the Moana Pacifica game, but I think this game in itself against the Blues was just rolled back the clock, blonde hair, long blonde hair, reminded the people down south of a young Jeff Wilson, the chip and chase, had it all, and just a fearless, courageous performer. Like, being 80 kilos, you've got to have some decent-sized kahunas to be able to run into these big bodies, and he's got it in spades. And he just pops up because he's got that ability to be Johnny on the spot, huge aerobic capacity, and he's got a lovely skill set. And he can play 10 as well, so expect him to pop up there at some stage during the season.
I'll throw another one at you. Nathan Hastie. Did anyone expect the Highlanders replacement halfback who came on for Folau Fakatava to be that good?
Well, no, I don't think so. When we saw the quality when he started in round 1 against the Waratahs, and he was outstanding. But in the weekend, he got his second opportunity because Folau Fakatava pulled out. And we talked about it, Taylor, down in Wellington, and you commented on how good his boot is. Like, to be able to get the Highlanders out of trouble, his box kicking ability, Millsy, and the height that he gets. He got
the best box kick in New Zealand.
22 to 22 is what he did on a box seat, and it's another try.
Is his ability also, he's got confidence by playing. He's actually starting to test runners around the ruck. So a real conundrum for Jamie Joseph, and a good one to have, because Folau Fakatava's been playing outstanding as well.
And they always had the 1-2 punch with Aaron Smith, Folau Fakatava. Who's been standing out to you, Taylor?
Oh, there's a couple. I already mentioned Josh Jacob when I was talking about Damien McKenzie, and the reason why he's able to, play fullback is because they've got a solid 10 there. And if you've been watching the NPC, you absolutely know who he is already. But for those who, don't watch Taranaki, he has been phenomenal. So I think he's really stood up. And the other one, Harry Godfrey. You've already mentioned him when you spoke to Clark Laidlaw beforehand, but he has stood up. The Hurricanes have massive injuries, and he has really played beyond his years. We saw how good he was yesterday up against Harry Plummer. Let's not forget that. Harry Plummer is now an All Black. And he was cool, calm, collected, and he bides his time. So he knows when to have a go and he knows when to distribute. And that's a really good skill to have, particularly when you don't often play 10. So I think Godfrey has been a real surprise package for me.
What I love about what you guys sort of mentioned, what we've actually spoken about, is the depth in our game. And the depth in fact that they're actually getting opportunities because of how fast the game is, the injuries that are coming. They're not all just going to the Crusaders and sort of sitting there for 3 to 4 years, right? Because that's what they used to do. Now we're seeing them blossom.
They could probably do with a couple of 10s.
We're seeing them blossom, and you've got to take confidence in the fact we've got some young talent. Our depth in our game is impressive, and I'm looking forward to them sort of coming through and being the next All Blacks.
Just on Harry Godfrey, it's staggering to think that he's only played one first-class game in the 10 jersey, and then the first 3 rounds he's been absolutely outstanding. He's just like a seasoned pro.
Well, I'll tell you who wasn't outstanding over the weekend. This is time for me to eat my words. I learnt my lesson last week, not to celebrate too early. I was like Marsha on week 1 saying, give the Crusaders the title already. I thought that's what I was doing with my fantasy Super Rugby team. If you've been playing along, I had an absolute shocker on the weekend, but Taylor Johnson.
It is me.
It is your week.
It is my week, and I'm going to stay up there. And the reason why is I'm a massive Carlo Tizzano fan.
Yes.
He has been in my fantasy team from round 1. I picked it early. He is top try scorer, and he is a tackling machine. So, yes, I'm a big fan of the Western Force.
Hold on, where's Millsy? Sorry.
Crikey, I tell you what.
Hey,
I didn't even see you down there,
There's only one
Mills.
way I can go, guys, so don't you worry about that. Hey, it's only round 3.
So Millsy last, Joey middle of the pack, and that is even with Joey picking players that aren't playing on the weekend. Notorious. On the weekend he picked
Luke Jacobson.
Just a real big fan.
I'm not sure how I did that. That's a real faux pas from me.
Well, I feel like we all need to listen to Taylor this week, so go and check out Taylor
No
Johnson's
pressure.
team
No pressure.
on Fantasy Rugby. Still plenty more to come on the breakdown. We have our latest mic'd up player. This is one you're going to want to listen to. It might be one of the best yet, Ruby Tui.
Okay, MJ. Okay, MJ. Ball, yours, man, yours, it's yours. Yes! Come on. Sorry. Yeah. She's rolling it. She's rolling it with her hands. That's out. Kenny, Maya's rolling it with her hands. Line out first, baby. Set piece first. Set piece first, baby. No. Those are show, elbow, in from the side, thank you. Yeah, Tyler, shotgun. Oh. Nothing wrong with it. What the hell? I suppose that's why Maggie's currently the best. Appreciate you making me a better player. If there was a gun pointed to your head and you would play wing, what would you say?
If I would have played wing,
Like, if someone said to you, you're going to play wing, would you be keen or not?
I'll be like, give me the ball.
Okay, I got a mic on. Hey, Vay, how does it feel?
Oh, amazing.
First time, Chief? Long time, me. Just go. Keep your eyes on this name right here. Just go and play. No one is talking smack about anybody. Our team's legit got good culture. Wasn't expecting that, but hey, must be real. Chiefs, man, now, wah!
One of the great characters of our game, Ruby Tui, thank you so much for allowing us to put a microphone on you during the first Super Rugby Opiki match of the season, and to the Chiefs Manoa for allowing it as well. And I'm so sorry, but it was so satisfying seeing a couple of those hits. And I'm glad I wasn't on the other end of it, but it was good to watch.
Yeah, good physicality, good physicality. I thought there'd be a little bit more chat from Ruby, bit of banter at the opposition, I thought.
Wonder how
Tough
much
game.
was censored out.
Oh, yeah, of course. Great to get those insights from the players, though. And sticking with Super Rugby Opiki, the Blues women look like the team to beat already. They absolutely dominated their opposition in Wellington, the Hurricanes Poa, and, well, a couple of women stood out, but Portia Woodman-Whitcliffe looks like she should still be playing in the Women's Rugby World Cup, Taylor, and she's just playing Opiki for fun.
Honestly, this was supposed to be her swan song. You know, like, she had just retired from the Sevens. She has won everything under the sun. And she came out and was the best player of the round. Incredible. Had the most metres out of anyone, the most tackle breaks. She ran it 15 times from the wing, moved into centre. But her footwork in close quarter, she has not lost the speed anyway. She had some big hits in there too. I mean, she is the goods. And I've heard that she's got an ambassador role at the Rugby World Cup. Well, forget that. Put her on the field because we need her.
How do we
She's
convince
incredible.
her to play then? Because, as you say, this was supposed to be her swan song. She retired from the Blackfern Sevens after the Olympics last year, and she just wanted to have fun with her rugby, pick up contracts all over the world. She's just come back from Japan. She's now playing Super Rugby Opiki. Potentially, she would like to try the NRLW as well. How do we convince this woman to play in the black jersey this year in the World Cup?
Money.
Well, you're a
I
player,
don't know.
Yeah.
That's what it obviously is for her. Like, what a great thing about the women's game is that they've got the ability to be able to go NRL, do what they do in Japan and come back, but dip their toes into Opiki. But the reality is that she probably, if she wants to go in and give it a tilt, they probably need to stump up with a little bit of cash, because, as we know, in the NRLW, they're paying their players pretty well.
Okay, well, from one of the greatest players in the game to an up-and-comer who we told you, you've got to keep an eye on this girl. She literally is a girl. She's 18 years old. Braxton Sorensen-McGee, who plays for the Blues women. We got to see her up close and personal and then speak to her afterwards. She is from a league background. She's chosen rugby union because there's a carrot at the end of the year, Millsy. Yeah. Do you think, from what you saw from this woman, she's got a massive future ahead of her?
I tell you what, it's hard not to say yes to that right now, considering how she played in the weekend, her ability to with ball in hand, the step, how wide the step was without losing any pace. But 18 years old, and first, can I say, for an 18-year-old to speak the way she did after the game, man, I was really impressed. But she's going to turn some eyes, and the way she's going, and also she's got a touch background. She's in our sevens program as well. You know, obviously, Maya Davis is part of that as well. So when you look again, the depth and the development of some of these wahinas coming through, far out. 18 years old, Joey.
And I think that's the value right there in Portia Woodman being involved, is that she gets to mentor the likes of her. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that Opiki's back, but I have to call this out. I spoke to Rua Heiteman after the game, and she said they felt clunky, and she acknowledged that the reason why the Blues are so good is because they have the most continuity, the most, retention in the squad. But how are the other teams supposed to compete as well and get that continuity when they only train one time a week? And the teams are getting ripped out on social media for all of the knock-ons and everything. 35 turnovers in each game. That's 70 in total. And no one wants to see that in women's rugby. But it's not their fault that they're underdone because they're only able to train 1 day a week. And so if this is really our premium product, I think New Zealand rugby is doing a disservice. Yeah. Because they're going up double headers. Who's playing after them? Men who are full-time professionals every single day. It's unfair for the women. So I think, yes, it was great to see it back, but they need to be training more.
Well said, Taylor. So from one of the youngest players and the young superstars in the game to one of the oldest going around. I'm talking about the late 30s, early 40s club of rugby players who, well, Ma Nonu, he's still going. He's a medical joker for Glamour Club Toulon. What does a medical joker mean, Millsy? He's playing.
That's a joke that I'm thinking about that. I'm just kind of like, mate, if someone asks me that, it's a terrible joke. But for Scux, He's in really good nick. You know, he's still playing. He's playing in the MLR.
Is he stupid, or is this phenomenal that at 43 he is still going in this position?
It's phenomenal. And you've got to remember, I mean, second to us, the top 14 is one of the best competitions in the world, and it's a grind.
A great story how it came about too, eh, Millsy? Harry actually got the opportunity.
Oh, he was just training with him. He went over there to visit, and he's just training with him, carved up, and they said, well, you got to play. And just like that, he said yes.
Yeah, unreal.
It wasn't even about the money.
No.
Well, have a look at this list of some of the oldest players to have played. Alan Wynne-Jones, no surprises, is right up there. 38. Johnny R4.
Oh, for the Crusaders,
39 for the Crusaders. Title winner with the Crusaders as well. Brad Thorne came out of retirement to play in the Queensland Cup in Australia at the ripe old age of 41. Anna Richards, the Black Ferns legend. After winning 4 Rugby World Cups, was still playing at 45. And this old codger down the bottom, ever heard of him? Colin Stanley. Well, the Guinness Book of Records doesn't lie, and he is the oldest ever rugby player. Mr. Stanley, 58. It's like for Saudi Arabia at international level.
I'm going 38 and I couldn't think of anything.
I'm going to get my boots out there, eh? I'm going to go over there.
You're a champ.
Hey, Clark asked you to put your boots back on, so...
No.
So, Melzy, you actually retired too early. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
36
Still
is
had
a bit
chance,
too early.
mate, to keep milking it a little bit longer.
I could have.
Plenty more to come this weekend. Round 2 of Super Rugby Opiki, round 4 of Super Rugby. The Blues Brumbies Friday night. All of you have basically said Hoskins Satutu will not be available for this clash. Whether or not Bowden Barrett is in there at 10 over 15 remains to be seen. But the Brumbies pushed the Chiefs hard.
Yeah.
How do you see that match playing out? Who wins that?
Blues at home.
Blues at home.
At Eden Park?
Not a good hunting ground for the Brumbies late.
They play such a different game, though. The Brumbies is playing so expansive, and Tupolvai said they got them on the edges, and the Blues, they're not playing that kind of game. So if they're going up...
Oh, you've heard it. You heard it here first.
Upset.
I'm not saying they're going to win, but I'm just saying, you know.
She's winning fantasy,
Yeah,
so she might be
actually,
winning the
listen to
tipping
me.
competition as well. Don't forget also Sunday afternoon match, 3 p.m. live on Sky Sport between the Crusaders and the
afternoon
Reds.
footy. Yeah, good.
Afternoon footy. Hope you're going to be there, Joey.
I'll be there.
It'll be entertainment galore. You'll be there. We'll be back on The Breakdown next Sunday, bringing you all the action from the weekend. Thank you so much for joining us. So great to have you here. We'll see you next week. Ka kite.